Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. It's Katelyn, and welcome to the No Days Off podcast, where we believe that every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. It's been a minute, but I am excited to be back, and I'm excited to share a story with you about something that happened to me a week or so ago. I was interviewing a candidate for a new role that we're hiring for, and towards the end of the interview, just like most interviews end, I asked the candidate if he had any questions for me. And when you ask this question, or if you've been on the interviewee side, being asked the question, you probably lean towards asking something about maybe the role or the company or the growth opportunities within the company, just, the standard things. And I'm not going to lie, when I heard his question that he asked me, I was kind of caught off guard. Not because it was a strange question, but because I had been answering the same types of questions from all of our other candidates. Just like, what's the company culture like? What does the role entail? What's the day to day? And so I was pretty prepared with my response. And when he asked me this question, it took me a moment to answer. He said, if you were me right now at this age and at this stage in my career, what advice would you give yourself? And I think my eyes went wide, and I hope that he didn't see that, but I was caught off guard. And I was caught off guard by how unique his question was. But at the same time, I was intrigued to see how I would actually answer this because, again, I wasn't prepared to answer this. And I was kind of quick to answer it. I haven't really reflected on this before, or if I have, it hasn't been in a really, really long time and maybe not intentionally. But to my own surprise, I answered it pretty quickly. And I think it was because some of these things that came to mind were actually some of the traits that I myself today, many, many years into my career, am constantly trying to improve within myself. And also, ironically, are the same traits that I look for when hiring people. So I'm going to go through these three things with you. And as I do that, I want you to kind of think about how you think about these traits within yourself. So the first one is genuine relationships. Be intentional about creating genuine relationships with people that you actually enjoy spending time with, people that you enjoy learning from, and people you look up to. This is what I told him. And what I mean by that is get to know people on a human level. This is something that was actually instilled within me as a kid. My parents both have a superpower of building strong relationships, so I owe that to them. Thanks, Mom and Dad. But what I know is there's nothing wrong with wanting to learn from successful people. I mean, I myself have intentionally sought out rooms with those high performers or those entrepreneurs that challenge me or inspire me that I want to learn from. But I think for me, the difference here is whether you're trying to build a real relationship with that person or if you're just trying to extract something from them. You're trying to get the job or you're trying to get a deal or get money from them or what have you. I think people can almost tell immediately when a relationship feels transactional. So this approach, wanting to meet the entrepreneur, the person that can help you with something within your business, that might help you short term, but I don't think it builds the kind of life and career that actually feels fulfilling. And like a lot of you in our No Days Off Nation, you're entrepreneurs, you're building businesses, you're successful. Just like you, I've seen successful people in my world build the strongest careers because they're building real relationships. They're curious about others, they listen, they follow up, they care. And something that I personally am trying to actively work on when it comes to building and creating genuine relationships is connecting with people in my world with no agenda. And what does that mean? I find that a lot of what we do in our day to day within the office or within organizations that we're a part of, we're always kind of reaching out or connecting with somebody because we need something, or we need to get an answer to something, or we need to get them an answer to something. And I like to mix in this no agenda outreach to people. And what I mean by that is I will reach out to my friends and check in on them and ask, how was that recipe that you tried the other night? Or how was your day today if I knew they had something going on? Or even just today, I called one of our clients who has recently lost a close friend in their life. And I called just to chat and say hi and check in and see how they were doing and just be there as a friend and not necessarily, as a client working relationship. So there was no agenda. I wanted to say hi. And when I look at this creating genuine relationships from a hiring perspective, I want my team members to build relationships not only with our clients and our vendors and people within our business, but also within their personal lives. Brian always talks about this, and he always says that relationships are one of the foundations of a good life. And I think he'd agree with me that I also think that building genuine relationships are one of the building blocks of building a great organization and a successful team. And so, how do you spot this in the interview process? I think you can start to see clues pretty quickly during your first interview with a candidate. I think that if they can have a genuine conversation with you during the interview, it's typically a good sign. I think that will also evolve as you get to know them over multiple interviews, or if you bring them on the team, you'll start to learn about how they build relationships. So that's number one, building genuine relationships. Okay, the second thing is work ethic. Now, this one might kind of feel like a no-brainer, but I also think it's not as easy to spot in people, or it's not as easy to measure maybe in an interview, but I want to kind of take you through what I mean by work ethic. So as we all know, we're a part of the No Days Off Nation, we get this, but if you want to achieve anything in life, whether it be financially, physically, mentally, you got to put in the work. So I'm not going to go much deeper there. You kind of get the gist. But here's how I am evaluating my own work ethic, and then I'll talk to you about what I kind of look for in a candidate. So for myself, I think, like most of you, this is tested in my role every single day. In my day-to-day roles, I'm trusted to get things done on time, correctly. And as someone who loves words of affirmation, I have grown a lot, and I've grown to complete projects without needing someone to tell me that I did a good job or to check in on me. And when I do my work and I pull my weight within our business, it feels good. So that is something that I'm always actively working on. I'm always trying to push myself to work harder, to show up and take more things on. But the biggest thing for me is that part of my growth within work ethic is learning how to operate without that external validation. Because I know that the last thing that my leaders or that my peers want to do is have to worry if they need to tell me that I'm doing a good job or that I need that accountability to get my work done. And so the other part of this is, how am I looking for this when I'm hiring for the team? How does this translate? So when I thought about this, I kind of broke it down into this. I want a team member who can be counted on, who follows through, someone who does the work when it's inconvenient, repetitive, unnoticed. Again, our No Days Off Nation, you've built businesses, you're entrepreneurs. We all know that sometimes it will be inconvenient, or the work's going to be boring or repetitive or administrative. Your efforts might go unnoticed. We've all been there. But when a team member can come onto the team and show that same level of work ethic, you know that's a keeper. We all know that. In the interviewing process, one of the things that I look for is, will this person take ownership? Can I trust them to execute without that accountability? And I'm probably doing this by asking them questions. Brian's always teaching us about asking questions and being curious. And I think that plays a role right here. I might ask this candidate about projects they've been involved in or what roles they have played in their jobs in the past, or about their greatest work challenge they've ever faced and how they handled it, or maybe examples of a time when they stepped up at work to solve a problem even if it wasn't theirs or if they weren't asked to solve it. And how they answer this question is going to give you a pretty good gauge of how they're showing up in their role and their work ethic to get things done. Okay, the third thing. Now, this one's my favorite and perhaps maybe the most underrated of all, but it's kindness. I think kindness stands out like a sore thumb in the business world these days. And it's not that I think people are not kind, it's that they don't intentionally display kindness in their interactions, whether personally or professionally. I just don't think it's top of mind. And I think it's because we live in this world right now where life moves fast and we're constantly being pulled to the next thing. We're distracted. There's so much AI cluttering our space, and there's this like lack of humanness. And sometimes our day to day can be so transactional that we forget about the kindness piece. But when you pause and show up in your world and in your interactions with kindness to other people, it makes a huge difference. Whether it's the bank teller that you're working with or the person in line with you at the grocery store, that interaction leaves an impact. Even if you don't think it does, on the other side, that person, they're thinking about how kind you were to them. And at the same time, I think that when you realize that and you help bring kindness to someone's world, you instantly feel better, or at least a little bit happier. That's what happens for me, at least. And so when you can acknowledge people, make them feel seen, communicate with respect, it's such a key part of becoming successful. And while not perfect, I think that this trait actually comes pretty easy to me. I do my best to try to make people feel heard and loved in a lot of my interactions. And I do that by doing little things like saying good morning or how are you today, and then sitting there and genuinely listening to them and what they want to share back with me, or even sharing a genuine compliment to somebody. That goes a really long way. So I also like to go into situations and interactions and ask myself, how can I leave this interaction with this person and make their day 1% better? I think that also goes back to this whole no days off concept, right? Getting 1% better. How do you make somebody's day better? By just being kind to them. Just make it 1% better. Now, let's tie this one out and talk about how I look for this in an interview candidate. So just like creating genuine relationships and how you might start to sense that genuine kindness within them, the genuine relationship building within them, you're going to start to recognize the kindness in the same way. And then when you bring them onto the team, you're going to see glimmers of that kindness with how they treat the assistant at the office, or how they treat the waiter when you go out to a restaurant, or how they're talking to the person helping coordinate logistics for the business. You'll start to see it evolve over time, and I think you'll see little pieces of it within that initial interview. And I want to tie this all out here. I know that it's a little bit longer than Brian typically goes for this episode, but I'm having a lot of fun. I hope that you are too. And what I want to kind of wrap this up with is we're not reinventing the wheel here. Most of the things that I just listed, they don't require some extraordinary talent. They're just simple. Build relationships, work hard, be kind. Anyone can do these things. We all can do these things. And at the end of the day, our careers will grow in proportion to who we all become. So this candidate probably thought he was asking the interview question, and I guess he was, but in a weird way, it kind of gave me the opportunity to reflect on myself and my own career growth and the type of person and the type of team member that I'm trying to become. So Before you go out into your day today, I want you to think of these three things and ask yourself, what is something you can do to become 1% better at creating relationships, genuine relationships, working hard, or becoming a kinder human being? Now, it wouldn't be the same if I didn't close out today's episode just like our guy Brian would. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. Let's get after it.